Bonjour, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my session, Microsoft Teams Education from then to now, where I will present top 8 best practice and 5 pitfalls to avoid. Before starting, thanks to Mark and Ian for the invitation. Scottish Summit is a huge event supported by this nice sponsor. First, a little bit about myself. My name is Laurent Carlier, and I am a Microsoft 365 consultant with a specialization in adoption and change management. I work for DigiTeam, a company based in Paris. We are Microsoft Gold Partner and Microsoft in Education Global Training Partner. And I am myself a Microsoft MVP and MIE Master Trainer. First, let me give you two interesting remarks in a view of the current context. Here is some numbers about Microsoft Teams education. Today, we have 270,000 school use Teams, the version education for remote and hybrid learning. There are 59 language supported in Teams, 5 billion meeting minutes in one day, and 150 millions daily active user. This is very huge. This is very impressive, but at the same time, I heard some funny, sad remarks from school leaders, and I want to give you some. The first remarks is, yes, we use Teams only to hold online meetings or online class. Wow, this is only 2% of the potential of Microsoft Teams. Second remark, Teams for students, we are not happy since they can do everything they want. Wow, is your IT staff concerned by the governance? So we will see this just after. Third remark, yes, Teams is a nice chat tool. Well, this is the same thing that the first remark, you use only 2%. Next remark, Teams in Teams, no. Is it necessary? So you really understand what is Teams? You know, this is also a really strange remark. And the last one, Teams for communication? No, we do prefer mail, more simple to send attached resource. Well, you know, this is the old habits versus the new habits. So why is that? I see mainly three reasons. The first reason is Microsoft 365 and Teams deployed in a hurry. Second one, there is a clear misunderstanding of what is Teams. And third one, there is a clear lack of vision and proper training. That's why the agenda today will be 8 best practice to follow, 5 pitfalls to avoid, and I will keep a time for your question at the end of the session. So let's jump directly with number one, top 8 best devices. Choose the right team. This is very important. And this is specific with the team version. You can choose 4 types of teams, and each type of teams is very different in terms of use. Let me explain this. If you choose the first one, the class teams, then it will come with an education version of OneNote, the class notebook version. Why this is a specific version? Because in the OneNote education version, you have some specific contents, you have some real separation between teachers and students, and you have also some permission who are created by default. If you choose the next one, the PLC type, then it will come with a OneNote, and this OneNote is more like the one maybe you have in a business version, as it has no default permission. If you choose the third one, the staff one, then it will come with a staff notebook, and the staff notebook is really similar to the class notebooks, as it will come with specific contents, a real separation between direction and staff, and permission created by status. And the fourth one, others, actually we do not see a lot of use of the fourth one in education version, as it comes with only Teams with conversation and files and no OneNote. So first advice, be aware of the type of teams you will create, because the version of OneNote will be very different. Number two, do use OneNote instead of files for read-only contents and individual works. You know, this is, I'm very surprised that a lot of people do not use OneNote inside Teams. And this is very sad, because OneNote is the main piece inside the Teams, and obviously inside the Teams class. Let me explain you why you have to really consider OneNote, especially if you are in education version, because in OneNote education version, as I said before, it comes with a specific space. And this specific space, you can see this here, but I will show you then after in a real time. The contents library, the collaboration space, the teacher only space, and the student's individual portfolio. Why it's great to consider this? Because if you, in the contents library, when you comes at first with the OneNote education version, it comes directly with this space for teachers. And in contents library, the permissions are created by default. And as you can see in my slide, for teachers in contents library, they will be able to write, but students by default, they will be able only to see it, not to modify it, not to erase it. So it's good in terms of permission. The collaboration space, this is a space where teachers and students can write, can collaborate. The teacher-only space, it is visible only for teachers, not for students. So it's good for teachers when they want to prepare their resource, and this space is writable, is editable for teachers. And at last, the individual portfolio of students, where teachers can write and students can write. Let me show you why you have to consider really this. If I jump in a tenant, you have a tenant here, an education version tenant. And if I go to a class, for example, this one, algebra class, we have the post section, the file section, and the class notebook section. The class notebook is the OneNote education version. And if I open it, you will see here that I have my collaboration space, my content library, the teacher only space, and the individual portfolio of students. This is very good to know it, because if you do not use OneNote, then usually teachers will go to files, and for example here they will create a file, for example this one, a resource document. But let's imagine that this files is only for for contents, and they want to modify these files in read-only, permission only. And if you do not use OneNote, then you will have to check these files, then go to SharePoint, open SharePoint, and in SharePoint change the permission. It is not the way that it has to be, especially in educational version. So if you want to organize read-only documents, read-only resource for your students, for example, then use OneNote. Really use OneNote. Then don't use the SharePoint, permission, because it will be very long. It will be very tricky to really understand how it works. So that was the number 2. Let's jump to the number 3. This is also a specific feature in educational tenant. Sometimes students can go very wide with the chat, and if you want them to stop chatting inside Teams and pay attention, you have a nice option, and this option is mute students. Let me show you how it works. Let's go back to another class team. Let's jump to the physical science team right there. And for example, you are teaching, you are working at home, or you are teaching in a hybrid learning environment, and your students are at home, or you are not in face of your students, and students use the chat and use a lot of the chat. And if you want to stop students to chat, then you can configure it in this way. You click on the 3 dots, manage teams. Manage teams, this is teachers. And here you have students. And as you can see in my screen, I have this option, mute students. If I check this, I can mute all students. But if I want to mute only one student, for example, this one, Adele is very talk too much on the chat. So I check this box and I mute Adele Vance. And if I go to the student side, let's jump to the student side. This is Adele Vance, and in this class, I mute her. And as you can see on my screen, if she wants to write something, she wants to click on new post, new conversation, then there is a message here. This is in French, but I can translate it for you. You cannot start a new conversation since your mic or your chat is disabled by your teachers. So this is good if you want also to, mute all students and pay attention to something. That was the best practice number 3, the best advice number 3. Let's go to number 4. This is for business version, but also for educational version of Microsoft 365. Maybe sometimes in Teams, you want to have your own video channels where you want to put all your video contents you're using. And if you want to do this, if you want to make it very simple for you, your users, or for your students, then my advice will be to create a stream tab. This is nice to have this in your head. In Teams, you can add a lot of things, and you can also add a stream tab. Let me show you how it looks. I will go to the algebra Teams class, and in this Teams class, I had a channel here. This team class own channel, and when I click here, then all the video teacher use, all the video that are using for working or for learning will be gathered right there, as you can see in my screen. So this is very simple to do it. If you want to know how you can do a private video channel inside a team, this is simple. You go to Microsoft Stream. In Microsoft Stream, you click on create another group, because you have a group. If you create a team, you have a group. So you create a channel. And when you create a channel, you name your channel. For example, I will say video resource. And then in this part, if you want this channel to be private to specific teams, and then in this box, you will search the teams you want. For example, I have a team called Language Art, and I want to make this channel private only to language arts users. So I put language arts right there, and I search, and yeah, I found the group inside the teams language arts. I select it, and once I'm done, I can click on create. Then my channel is created. So this is also a nice tool if you want your user, or if you want your students to be focused on Teams and use only Teams, then gather everything inside the team. Let's go to the advice number 5. Use mention carefully inside Teams. This is also true for business version, as I see a lot of people who are using the art mark to mention all the team, but is it true to mention all the team for this information? Some people do not understand this mention. So my advice for Teams educational version or business version is that inside Teams you can find many ways to mention people. I will jump to let me see, where was that? I think it was Algebra Gym. Let me double check. I created some. No, it was not there. Oops, sorry for this. I will just go to the proper teams to show you how it works. Yeah, it was there. Yes. So, for example, these teams, the physical science teams, you can mention all the teams, but if you mention all the teams, that the information will be very true, very interesting for all the teams. You can mention people, specific people. You can mention channels, but my advice will be to create tags. Maybe if you do not know this, I will show you inside Teams. If you are an owner, you can create tags. And for example, I created a specific tag for students. And what is great for this is, for example, if I want to deliver a specific message for students, then I will go, for example, in this channel, I will click on New Conversation, and I will check Artmark, and I will write students here. Students, here is what can I say? Here is an important message, for example, and I will send this, and in that way, only the people inside the tag of students will be mentioned, and not the owner, not the teachers. So this is good to have, this distribution of notification. And at the same way, for example, in this class, we have a channel group A and another channel group B. And I can also create a specific tag for people inside the group A and people inside the group B. I will show you how I can do this. I will click, for example, in this one, manage tag, and then I will create a new tag, for example, group group A, and in group A, I will put students, for example, this one, and another teacher. Do I have students with C? Yes, Enrico. And then create. Okay, close the window, and as you can see here, Adele will be under the tag students and under the tag group A. So if I want, for example, here to mention only the people in group A, then one more time, hot mark, group A, not the channel, the tag, group A, then the message. So this is interesting to have this in your mind. If you want to manage notification, you have to take this. So that was advice number 5. Let's go to advice number 6. Keep a good balance between digital and paper. Working in a digital way does not mean you have to forget papers. And for this, there is a nice application called Microsoft Office Lens. And Microsoft Office Lens is an application to scan documents or other parts of contents. And I will show you with some screen captures. When you download Office Lens on your tablet or on your phone, then you can choose to scan a photo, you can choose to scan documents, you can also choose to scan whiteboard or business card. Let's go to document, and as you can see, this screen capture comes from Fresno EdTech, who has a really good YouTube channel. So if you are interested, please check his channel. And if I choose a document, I will choose the space I want to capture. Once I'm done, I have different feature for exportation. I can export it to gallery. I can export it directly to OneNote, and this is good for this. And if you are a student, and we know that some students will prefer to submit work with papers, then they can do this. They can scan their homework, then their assignment with this application. And once they are done, if it is, for example, an assignment inside Teams, they will be able to add this screen capture with this button, add work. So be aware that you have to keep a good balance between digital documents and paper documents, and yes, they can be linked together. Let's go to number 7. Track students' activities with Insight. Insight is a specific feature for educational tenant. I don't know if it will come in a near future for business tenant. That will be very good, actually. But right now, it's only in the educational tenant. And Insight is a free tool. Then you can add in Teams class. And with these tools, you will be able to track a lot of interesting data. I will show you an example. If I go to a team, let me see what was the team I used before. I think it was algebra. I already add Insight. If you want to add Insight in an educational version, you just click on plus, and then here you have this application, Insight. But in that team, Insight is already added. So I open it, and when I open it, I have different data that are very good. First, I have some information that students are inactive. It is a demo version, so I'm not worried about it. But if I want to know more about the inactivity of students, I can click here, track student activities, and in this side I can choose all students, I can choose a specific students, and I can choose what kind of activities. Is it a meeting, is it a communication, is it a file, is it an assignment? And I can choose also the period. If I choose, for example, Adele, then I will see that Adele is not very active, but she was active today at 2 p.m. 2:32 p.m. And as you can see, I have all the information right there. I know that she visited the channel. I know that she opened the file. I know that she visited also the next channel and post one message. So this is very good as a tool. You can track activities. You can track the communication. Who are the best? Who is the best students for communication? Right there, and you can also track some data about assignment. So this is good if you are particularly in hybrid learning. You can track students' activities with Insight. Let's go to number 8, and this is a new features. It is also in business tenant and educational tenant. If you want to add a channel calendar to a specific channels, you can do it. This is good for those who are struggling with massive events inside the calendar, and I will show you how to do this. For example, I can, in an educational tenant, I can create a specific channel for online classes. I will do, oh yes, I will just create one, for example, in physical science. I do not have, yes, okay, just create a channel for online classes. And I do this because in these channels, I want to send all the online classes invitation. It will be better than to put it in general channel. And if I want to add a specific calendar right there, I can just click on the add, and then I will search channel calendar right there. Click on the add. And I will name it, for example, online channel calendar. This calendar will be to have a nice view of online events only, and just click add. And once I'm done, as you can see in my screen, this is good because you have directly a view of this calendar for online classes. So that was the 8 best advice. Let's see now the 5 pitfalls to avoid. And the first one is do not consider Teams as a central hub. Many people do not consider Teams as a central hub. They think that Teams is only an online meeting tool, and this is not true. And Teams, inside Teams, this is a central hub, and inside Teams you can do a lot of things. You can create Word, PowerPoint, Excel. You can even send mails coming from Outlook. You can create a planner. You can add SharePoint library. You can also create SharePoint 3D spaces, and you can also create, and this is mandatory, I think, OneNote inside a team. You have some features like chat, Teams, calendar, assignment, files. You can do audio, you can do video, and you can also add third-party apps like the one you can see on my slide. These are very interesting. Poly to create a quick poll, a Flipgrid to let your students record their own video and post it directly inside a team. Whiteboard, website, Kahoot for another quiz, a funny quiz tool. So as you can see, Team is not only an online meeting tool. You can do a lot of things. You can do more than setting up only online meeting invitation. The second pitfalls is do not configure meeting option for meeting online class. This is you know, if you do not know this, and you will have a very you will feel very confused as a teachers. And if you want to set up this meeting option, and I will show you how it works, let's go to an event, for example, this one. And if you want to set up different things, you have to click on meeting option. And once you open this windows, you will have the possibilities to configure a lot of interesting things. The first one, who can bypass the lobby? By default is everyone. No, I want my students or I want user to stay in the lobby. It is very good for me, because if I want to, you know, to prepare and be, you know, very quiet to prepare, then I will choose only me here. Who can present? No, not everyone, because I will choose only me. If you leave everyone, then your students will be able to disable the mic of other students, or, you know, erase other students from meeting. So I do not want students to be able to do this. So only me. Allow attendees to unmute. If you're in a meeting, you can disable all mic for students. But students can re-click on the mic to open again their mic. If you do not want students to be able to do this, and then you have to uncheck this. So you will have the full control of students' mic. So this is good. And this is a new one. Maybe you saw this. You can add some reaction. If you do not want to have some reaction, you can disable it and then click on Save. So that is my recommendation, especially if you are doing some online classes, but it could be also very good for business version, as you're maybe scheduling or running a meeting, and you do not want your users to be able to do certain things, then you can set up these things inside this option, meeting option. Let's jump to the number 3. Pitfalls. I saw this many times. When you create a team, if you are in a business version or educational version, don't leave the general channel only. The general channel is to put, some general information and not specific information. If you want to put some specific information, then you have to create some semantic channel. But be aware, don't create too many channels. Like you can see in my screen, 32 more channels. It's too big, 32 more channels. Who wants to click on 32 more channels? So really think about it, and don't abuse of private channels. I saw this many times. General channels, and below all the channels will be private. What is the purpose of this? I don't understand, as it is a team. So if you are in a teams, you have to, collaborate inside the teams. And if there is a huge amount of private channels, you don't collaborate, you don't communicate. So what's the purpose of the team? So you have to really think about this. Let's go to, yes, so let's go to number 4. Do not have a clear IT governance. This is important to know. Yes, by default, when you open a tenant, if it is a business tenant or educational tenant, it is open bar. Open bar means that all your users will be able to do everything you want, they want to do. So you do not want to have this liberty for your users. So you have to really think about a clear IT governance. And let me give you some good checklist. The first one is, have you control teams, group creation? Because if not, all your users will be able to create groups, will be able to create teams, and this is not good. The second one, do you have a naming policy for your teams or for your groups? This is also very important because you do not want your users or your teachers to create some funny naming teams. No, you want to have a specific naming policy, so you have to consider it. The third one, do you have an expiration, an archive policy? This is also great to have to keep in mind. Did you set up some policy in OneDrive or SharePoint also, especially for students? And when we go to Teams admin centers, there are also some interesting points to check. The first one, have you configure who can add private channels? Because if you have not configured this, all of your users will be able to create private channels, but you can disable it inside a team. But it is better to think globally, to make a global policy for this. The second one, have you configure messaging policies to for students, for example? You do not want your students to do certain thing inside chat teams, so you have to configure it with specific policies. It is the same thing for the meeting policies, the same thing for the app policies, and the same thing for the calling policies. If you are not aware with this, inside a tenant, if you have some IT roles, you can go to the admin centers and jump directly to the Teams admin center. And inside the Teams admin center, you can configure this by yourself. If you are not comfortable with policies, you can also click on some already created policies for this. As you can see in my screen, you have the faculty policies, the student policies, but if you go to Teams, the more specifics, general Teams policies, you will be able to create also, this is global, but if you want to change it, you will be able to change the policies for specific users. And last pitfalls, number 5, do not have a clear vision. This is true for educational tenant. This is also true for business tenant. What is a vision is, answering to this question: where are you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? And how will you make it? If you have no answer to this question, then it means that you have no vision. And why this is important to have a vision, I will share you a nice model coming from the Knockster model. And this model will come with 5 inputs: vision, skills, incentives, resource, and action plan. If you check all these 5 inputs, then the adoption will be successful. If something is missing, then you will have false start, frustration, resistance, anxiety, and confusion. So consider this model. This is a very nice model to have in mind. But if you want to have some specific advice, I can give you some. The first one will be you have to build perfect teams, and a perfect teams is a match between executive, IT staff, and champions. The second one will be you have to communicate your vision and outcomes to all your personnel. The third one will be you have to think long-term plan. The fourth one will be you have to measure and you have to adjust constantly, and this is important, the word constantly. Next one is don't count on YouTube for change. This is important, as I saw many companies, many schools who said to their users, go to YouTube and watch video in YouTube. No, sorry, but this is not the way it has to be. And if you leave your user watching video, then the adoption in a global way for your structures will be very low. And the last one is you have to hire professional to run change management in all aspects. All aspects mean the change management in a global way, the organizational management, the pedagogical management, if you are in an educational tenant, and obviously the IT aspect. So that was my 5 pitfalls and 8 best practice. If you have any question, please ask and I will answer. If you want to reach me, you can reach me on LinkedIn in this address or in Twitter with this ID. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.